Today on AniLysis, we're looking at Chazz. Who the bloody hell is Chazz, you might ask? He comes from this book, number 16, The Warning, and he's one of those chaps in the chat room. If you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. It's an unusual section of the book where we have chat logs whizzing through, and Chazz is one of those. So, why did we look at this chat room in the first place? Let's find out. The Animorphs are a bit perplexed because they've seen a picture of a Hawk-Bajir online. Now, that wouldn't be a surprise to us in the real world in the modern day because Animorphs was quite a popular show and you get that sort of stuff. But in the actual Animorphs universe, seeing a Hawk-Bajir picture online would cause a bit of a stir amongst this particular group, this Animorphs collaboration. Because they think they're the only ones who know, apart from the Yeerks of course, so why has this thing appeared online? So they decide to investigate a chat room. If you've never seen a computer chat room before, it's kind of confusing. It's like a conversation between people who aren't really listening to each other. Plus, everyone can only type about 10 words at a time, so it gets pretty confusing. But you get used to making sense of it after a while. The six of us watched, fascinated, as the conversation went scrolling down the screen. A conversation about things we thought only we knew about. The interesting thing about this part is that you can see how much the internet has changed. This book was in the late 90s, so looking at the internet chat room where you can only write 10 words at a time, and that was like advanced technology. It's amazing how far things have come, but that's besides the point. Let's see who this Chazz person is, because there's a number of people in this chat room, and Chazz is one of the more vocal ones. What does Chazz say first? Why don't we get serious here? The Yeerks are only getting stronger, and instead of using this chat to plan some action, we end up doing nothing. Straight away we get the sense that this Chazz person doesn't like the Yeerks. There are a few posters on here, in fact most of them, all of them if that, are supposedly against the Yeerks. You got ones like Yeerk Hater on there who's like, Yeerks are all scum, I think we should out themselves to them so that we can get revenge or something like that. Now he's clearly a controller, but this Chazz one is a bit different. They're just frustrated that there's no action being taken. They think they should hit the Yeerks hard. But they also know a thing or two about what's going on. Take a look at this. Yeerk Hater posts, the sharing is okay. I checked them out. Chazz writes, wrong. The sharing is a Yeerk front organisation. Yeerk Hater types, no way. They're like Boy Scouts. Whoa, Rachel said. This Chazz guy seems fairly serious, Tobias offered. Yeerk Hater may be a controller himself, I said. Or he may just be mistaken, Cassie pointed out. Chazz is certain that the sharing is a Yeerk front organisation. And he's not wrong. He's not wrong. What does this mean about Chazz? Either he's seen something and he knows quite a bit, or he was a host and somehow managed to escape. Let's go a bit further and see if we can get any more clues. Gump8293 types, isn't there any way for me to get my dad to stop being a Yeerk? Yeerk Hater types, talk to your dad, tell him what you think. Chazz says, no Gump, say nothing to your father. If you say anything, you'll be next. Chazz clearly knows some stuff, which makes me think that this is an ex-controller. Because, you know, maybe knowing that the sharing is a frontal organisation, yeah, that could be a coincidence, maybe they've seen something, but also knowing how the Yeerks operate in that if you come out to the Yeerks, they're going to come get you. So this person is very clued in, and probably the most clued in person in this chat room, whereas Yeerk here is clearly out to cause trouble. Govikes is, as Marco says here, Govikes is just your standard chat room moron, Marco said. But Chazz and Meg and Carlito seem like they may know something. Maybe this webpage was created by Yeerks to help them locate any humans who know about them. But at the same time, maybe it got a little out of their control. I mean, maybe Chazz, Carlito, Fighty and Meg are all for real. This is the last we see or hear from Chazz. We find out a little more about what's going on later in the story. So the Animorphs go to Web Access America, infiltrate their headquarters, and find out who these screen names belong to. Do we hear much about anything about Chazz there? No, because it turns out he or she is of little or no importance. We had to memorise the list of names we'd got. There was no way to carry them. For the most part, the names meant nothing to us. They were just names. It turns out that the one of interest to them was the fighty person, fighty. So we can safely assume that the rest were just random people that these animals don't know, have never heard of, and that's all we ever get from Chazz. What do we know about what could have happened to Chazz? Joe Bob Finestra explains later on. What do you think that silly Yerk forum is about? That silly mix of fact and fiction? I control Web Access America. I know the identity of all the screen names. The chat room is full of different types. People who are actually controllers trying to throw suspicious humans off track. Humans who have discovered our little invasion and are trying to rally opposition to us. And then there's me. I spot the controllers. I spot the humans who think they have found family members who are Yerks. I monitor the real gung-ho Yerk fighters who identify potential controllers. I track down the screen names. I find the Yerks, 1 every 3 days, 10 a month. This is where Joe Bob Finestra basically comes out as cannibalising these other Yerks. Now, if we can be certain that Chazz isn't a Yerk, then he would have been safe, or she. We don't have a given gender for Chazz, so I'll just, if I say he, just assume it can be anything. So, Chazz was probably not in danger if we are to assume that he wasn't a controller. But how do we know? Because Yerk Hater was clearly a controller in disguise. Maybe Chazz is the same. We know that Fighty was Joe Bob Finestra. What can we speculate about Chazz? Really not that much. All we know is they go in this chat room and try to get people to formulate plans to attack the Yerks, explain that the sharing is a front organisation, which leads me to believe that they're not actually a Yerk and they're a genuine person. There was that person saved at the end of book 1 who got away from the Yerks on their own. I believe it was a woman. Maybe that's Chazz. Have we thought about that? In which case Chazz would be a she. So she escaped from the Yerks at the start. Some people speculate that it's the woman from Megamorphs 1, but I dispute that. I think that that woman was clearly there for a lot longer than 5 books worth. Maybe Chazz is that woman at the end of book 1, because they clearly know a lot about the Yerks. They know about the sharing. They know that if this Gump person were to come forward and say, I think my dad's a controller, that Gump would be taken. I think it's non-canon, of course, but I think it would be reasonable to just headcanon that person was the person saved from book 1. No real evidence for it, but it's, but we like to connect these things up, don't we? So I declare it now, canon. Chazz is the person saved from book 1 at the end of the book, so probably not. But whatever, that was Chazz. We don't know much else about them. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm actually going to do another AniLysis on one of the chat room people. And then eventually I'm going to get onto Chapman, because that was a character that you voted for, so I will get onto that. That will just take a little bit more research, a little bit more time to create. Thank you very much for watching. I shall see you next time. Ta-ra.